Hi, it's Carolyn
Hi.
the Contest Queen, and I have a very special guest. We have Sarah Jordan with us, and we're going to have an extremely interesting conversations tonight about Helene Hadsell and her blueprints. So stay tuned as we learn all about how Sarah can get you your own blueprint today. So here we go. Now, what's interesting is Sarah Jordan is a pen name, but you also have another pen name. So let's start with the famous part of you first.
Okay, so Sarah Jordan is my real name.
Oh,
My pen name on my Etsy store is Sarah Z Lorraine, but when I started it, it was Zelda Barons
because
because I wrote a book under that name, and I don't know,
it's a it's a
it was an
bestseller. Don't be
experiment.
shy.
It was an experiment, and yeah, it became an Amazon bestseller.
I love it because you're a fellow author.
Yes.
And I think that's why, and I did that on purpose. I think that's why it led to this first question that I have for you. How did you come to contact me, Sarah?
I had reread the Name It and Claim It game for like the 10th time. I was on an airplane and I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually start entering contests. Like, I had read the book so many times and never entered any contests. So I was like, how to find contests. And then I saw that you had the Contest Queen website. And I was reading your website like it was a novel. And then I saw all these comments from readers on your website that after Helene passed, they were interested in where could they get blueprints. So I was like, okay, I need to reach out.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think you also had a little birdie in your ear. Sarah's also intuitive, and so I'll let you go. I'll read the next question because this is how it ties into Helene. What metaphysical modalities do you have in common with Helene?
Well, Helene's blueprints included life path number, numerology. She didn't use tarot cards in the blueprint. She used playing cards. And she also did life cycles. And I've heard through the grapevine that her blueprints were really awesome, but more general overview. So I wanted to do justice to the blueprints and make them really specific. But I also use life path numbers, numerology, tarot cards, and psychic insight instead of playing cards. And I found that using cycles feels kind of limiting and a little confusing to clients because they don't really know what that is. But I loved it. I love the idea of combining modalities to give more insight into the querent's question, the client's
Yeah,
question.
that's one of the reasons I wanted to find and connect with some people like you to literally and call the blueprints 2.0 because yes, you're right. Although her blueprints were awesome, they were very general, and I know from working with other, metaphysical teachers and coaches, etc., like yourself, that people actually have specific questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you had a specific question and you receive a very general overview reading, you're left kind of like, okay, but what?
Yeah, now what do I do?
Yeah, now what do I do? This didn't answer my question. It's great. I'm on this life path number, I was going to say 44. That's not even a life path number.
You say 8. 8 is a life path.
You know what I mean? Just, yeah, that's great. Now what do I do with it?
I'm glad you mentioned that because one of my clients ordered a blueprint 2.0 about how to increase her wealth and finances around her new business. So I told her about her life path, but I also showed her how someone with her specific life path can take practical steps and get results in her business. And same with numerology and tarot as well. So even if
Oh no, she
We
goes.
have the
Okay.
same life path number. But your readings were very different.
Yeah, it makes a difference to have, when you get a piece of information, to have, what do I do with this piece of my puzzle?
Right.
Because if it's um generic like that, I loved that because Helene made me one and I loved it, but I did find it to be very generic. Now that she made it for me in 2008, and now that it's literally 15 years, I can look back at some of the stuff she'd put in it and it makes sense, but it sure as heck didn't make sense when she gave it to me. I was reading it, I'm like, I don't know. All right, we'll see. Hindsight's 2020, they say. Now,
Yeah,
this
but
is fun. Have you ever won anything? So now you said, okay, I finally started entering contests. Have you turned you into a contester, Sarah?
I wouldn't say I'm as into it as Helene was, and I don't win as much as she does because, like you, I split my focus. Like those of you who are watching, I'm sure you're familiar with Helene's spec method: select, project, expect, collect. So I have won quite a few things. I won a Game Boy, not a Game Boy, a Nintendo DS at a raffle. I won an opal ring. I won a blackjack jackpot, but that was through playing the game, and I've never played before. Um,
Oh,
but my favorite prize, I didn't win this, but I used the technique to get my dog when my husband did not want a dog. So I selected the dog I wanted, which was a Italian Greyhound mix, and I wanted a young dog, and I wanted to adopt the dog. So I don't know if you've ever tried to adopt a dog that's a
no.
small breed, but they're usually seniors, and we adopted a senior dog before about 11 years ago, actually, and he passed. So this time around in 2020, I wanted a young dog because I don't want to have to say goodbye to him. And I knew Chad did not want a dog. And I just kept imagining that he would say, "Let's get a dog for your birthday." So when my birthday rolled around, he actually said that. And no one was more surprised than me. And I used Helene's technique, like expect it. And so I reached out to this website called rescueme.org, and I put in like a
Oh,
request where they would email me if they got a young Italian Greyhound. Within a week, they sent me a picture of my current dog. His name is
wow.
Paul. And I called, and they did a little background check. They checked my references, and he was in Georgia, like 5 hours away. So this was like a big commitment for us to go drive and meet him. And I was just telling this dog, please be quiet, please be a good dog. And we drove there, and my husband fell in love with them and him, and they're like best friends. So yeah, the technique works more than just winning to, manifesting or getting what you want.
Well, that also ties into a technique she used to use with Jose Silva. It was
Yeah,
outlined in actually one of her other books. There was no cell phones back in the day. So if she needed to get a hold of Jose, she would send him a thought form. She would just telepathically send him a message, think Jose. And she says, always within an hour, he'd call her and say, what do you want?
that was in Confessions of an
An
83-year-old
83-year-old
sage, right?
sage. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
I just
I
read
think
that
that's what
one.
you did. You kept sending that thought form to your husband and it stuck.
Yeah, he obviously was on the same wavelength, or he wouldn't have agreed.
Well, yeah, because the dog's a big commitment, but it sounds wonderful.
Yeah, he's actually out with my husband right now because he does tend to bark if a car drives by or he sees another dog out the window.
Well,
But
he is protecting you.
yeah, he is protecting me. I do need a 7-pound dog for protection.
I know it. How lovely. That's
Thank
so
you.
fun. And that's actually brings up a good point that I did want to make tonight because I get this question a lot. Can the spec method be used for anything other than contests? absolutely, Sarah got a beautiful dog.
Yes.
You can use it for anything. Okay, so let's go over how, because you do more than just blueprints. This was something new that you've just added to your repertoire. That doesn't want to come out. So it's a new, I guess, we'll call it a product that is in your repertoire. But you also do other types of readings. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background, besides being a world famous author?
I got started doing tarot readings like when I was like in middle school, and I found my first deck at a garage sale when I was like 7, and I had no idea what the cards were. I didn't even have the booklet, but I would just look at them because I liked the pictures and I kept them. And then I loved scary movies, and I still do, but as a kid, my parents let me watch Poltergeist when it first came out. Now, most little kids would identify with the little girl in the movie, but when Tangina, the psychic, came on, I was like 5 at the time. I was like, oh my God, this is me. I'm Tangina. And I just like totally identified with her. And I was just always been into the paranormal and ghosts and things like that. But yeah, reading tarot became a thing for me in middle school. And I got started doing readings professionally on an app. I think it was in 2017 I started, just like on the side. And in 2020, up for, let's see, from 2015 to 2020, I was a professional dog sitter. And I've been a face painter for 10 years as well. But when the pandemic hit, all that went out the window. So I opened an Etsy store and I started selling readings. Oh, also in 2020, I was training with a psychic detective, Pam Coronado from the FBI, about how to do photo readings. And it turned out that me feeling like a weirdo in real life, like I could do it like right away. So I felt like I felt like I fit in, and I felt like I had a calling, and my shop really took off. So since
Yeah, that's
2020, I've been
amazing.
full time doing the readings.
You found your groove. That
Yeah.
happened to me with the Contest Queen. When I went to my first sweepstakes convention, I felt like I knew everybody there, and I felt like I found my soul tribe. Like, this is it. I'm coming to this event. I know all these people down in
That's
the soul.
awesome.
So it's the same thing. Like, you saw the psychic on TV. You're like, that's me. The universe leaves clues. You just have to follow them.
Yeah, and I think, when you asked me about my pen name, when I first started, I was a little shy, like not as confident, and I was a little worried about, what my friends and family would think. But when I go to meetups or people ask me what I do and I tell them, most people are like, "Oh my God, that's so cool. Tell me about it." But yeah, I use tarot cards, I use psychic insights, I do numerology, I do pet readings, past life readings, photo readings. I have a psychic
I forgot about
development.
the pet readings. Yeah, that's really cool.
I love animals.
We know you got your dog using
Yeah.
your intuitive abilities.
Yeah.
Now, we'll go over the blueprint a little bit. I didn't print mine out. I put them on the screen over here, but I shut the screen off because it had a glare. So here's how I'll describe what it is and what you get if you order a Blueprint 2.0 from Sarah. And then we can describe how yours are the 2.0 version and how it differs from Helene's. So Helene in hers had a couple of things that I sent to Sarah so she could include them. The one thing she always had was a points to ponder. Enunciation is key.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had the points to ponder. And then at the end, she did something called the Disatera, which she also liked to include because the Disc Tarot is almost like a poem of
Mm-hmm.
how you should, live your life. So that's what those are the two things that you have that are identical. Then you talk about your life path and the number, which Helene did the life path number, correct?
Yes.
And then you do tarot versus playing cards.
Right.
Right. And then did she do numerology?
She did numerology, and she also included something about life cycles. So we both do numerology. I don't do cycle.
Okay. But
I
then you
provide
also use
psychic
your
insight
intuitive. Oh,
instead.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'll provide psychic insights about whatever you're asking about instead of the life cycles.
Which I think is what was needed for 20, this now, for now. I was going to say the year, but somebody could be watching this at any time. Because,
Exactly.
yeah, it's going to change. So Sarah did mine.
And Helene.
And Helene's, which was interesting. Now, here's what's really interesting. One thing I discovered when I was going through the paperwork that I inherited as part of the legacy that I'm continuing is on her birth certificate, it says Helene Hadsell. And the first edition of the Name It and Claim It game says Helene Hadsell. And I still can't figure out the year, but somewhere along the line, it went to Helene Hadsell. And I found some course notes or courses that she was talking about. You could see that it was Helene Hadsell, and she wrote in the E with marker to make it Helene Hadsell. So why don't you explain why you believe, because I thought this is a mystery, but I knew intuitively it had to be for numerology.
Yes.
So why don't you tell everyone why she probably did it?
Yeah. So Helene Hadsell, the name, calculates to a 2 in numerology, which a 2 is all about relationships, harmony, decisions. It's all about benefiting the whole and everybody else. Now, Helen was also a life path 6, and this made her already a caretaker, someone who's really responsible, always thinking about other people. Now, she added the E to make this, my opinion, that she added the E to make it Helene so that it would calculate to a numerology 7, which is all about the spiritual, the paranormal, the metaphysical. And as we all know, who have read Helene's books, that's the path that she ended up taking. She did the Silva mind control method. She ended up working for him for a really long time. Her relationships with her family wasn't so great anymore, but her spiritual path was like her passion.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it changed. And you know what I just thought of? Of course, it's hindsight. And I'll ask you this because this happens to a lot. I'll say more women than men, of course, because we're the ones that tend to change our last name. So when a woman is married, she had a first name, middle name, and a last name, and then she got married and she took on a new last name. Does that change your number?
It does. So it changes your numerology. Now, your life path has nothing to do with that. Your life path is always the same, no matter what. But if you change the name that you were given at birth, the numerology of your blueprint will be different. That's because numerology is calculated based on your name or the name that you go by. In fact, we could even calculate numerology for a business name. It's all about your personal vibration. So, yeah, that's why I named my Etsy shop what I named it, because of the of the number that it added up to. So,
that's very clever.
Yeah. So if you have the name, let's see, Carolyn Smith, I just made up the last name. I don't know what your maiden name is. But if you have that, that's going to be probably a different numerology than Carolyn Willman. and that'll change how you come across, it'll change your energy.
That's what's interesting, because I never changed my name. I've always been Caroline Wellman. And so even when I was married, and then my daughter ended up taking my last name, not his last name. So I guess that changed her total numerology.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is interesting. We could almost do a separate episode just on names and numbers. That's fascinating.
Yeah, we could. So, what I like to do when somebody orders a blueprint, if they're married, they give me their birth name and their married name, and I'll do a little blurb about their numerology prior to their current name, and then the numerology about since they changed their name. Because I changed my name when I got married, and yesterday was actually me and my husband's 12th wedding anniversary.
Oh.
So 12 years ago, I had a totally different name. It was Sarah Macarelli, and now I'm Sarah Macarelli Jordan. It's a mouthful. I wanted to keep the Macarelli in there, but yeah, it calculates as something different now. And I wasn't that into numerology back then, but I like what it turned out to be.
That's really interesting. We need to talk about that more. And I found it fascinating because I didn't understand, because everyone said, well, her name's Helen. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's Helene. And then I got her birth certificate. I'm like, what is happening? And then it occurred to me when I was looking at her blueprints one day, I'm cleaning my office and I found them. And I was looking and I saw the numerology and I thought, oh, that's based on your name. I bet that's why she changed it. Now, we have no way to confirm this.
Right. We have
no one to confirm it. This is just a gut feeling, and I'd say logic. Like,
yeah,
knowing what she's based on, knowing how the numbers turned out,
knowing everything she wrote about too.
Yeah, and everything she wrote about. We're like little detectives. We're gathering the evidence.
Exactly. Now, Helene does sound a little more exotic and slightly less common than Helen. But she knew about numerology, so I think that's the main reason.
Yeah, I don't remember if there was any books on numerology in her library. I forgot to look for that. There was a lot of books, and I only had limited time. Now, this is now what do you ask for? Because I remember when Helene did mine, she just wanted my name and my birth date. Because she threw in a bit of like Chinese astrology and stuff, but not really. I wouldn't call it. Now, I've had astrology readings before. It was definitely not what I would call a true astrological reading. So what do you ask for? Like, if somebody says, hey, I want a blueprint, a modern blueprint, what do you need to give them that service?
I ask for the name that you currently use, or your maiden name, and your full date of birth, and a question that you want answered, if you have a question. If you don't have a question, I'll just tell you what comes up. When those of you that are watching, when Carolyn asked me to do one for her, she didn't ask me a question. So I thought it would be fun to see what would come up around how to make her next upcoming book projects really successful based on your life path and numerology and what the tarot cards had to say as well. So that was a lot of fun.
We'll go over that. But what's interesting is now we've been talking about the name change, and I just I'm in the process of doing, that's what the reading's about, is all of Tag Powell's books. I found out that's not Tag's legal name. Like Helene, he changed his name. And so I think that we're going to have to maybe even do like a YouTube type short, and we'll just do his name, his legal name, and his.
Send me his information, and we could do a short about it.
Because isn't that it? Now that we're talking about it, of course, it always happens when you're live, right? We don't think of this before. Okay, so my life path, and I didn't pull up my other one from Helene. My life path is 6. Now that's based on my birth date, right?
Yes. So that's never going to change
That's never going to change.
in this lifetime.
Well, oh yeah, in this lifetime, or the one I'm conscious about.
Yeah.
Let's say that. So this purpose, and it's interesting because this ties into a reading I had in 2013, that my purpose here on earth is to heal the 6th chakra, the third eye, in myself and the people I'm closely tied to. And I was told I'm here to marry heaven and earth in a new way. And that is that saying it in a different form.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Open people's minds wide open.
I'm doing that
with your communication, which you're definitely doing.
What's interesting is Helene was a Gemini, and I'm a Gemini rising.
I'm a Gemini moon.
I talk a lot, but the two things that I do that Helene didn't have in her skill set was she was not entrepreneurial, which I am, and she was also not tech savvy, which I am, which I think she knew was needed to continue her work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because when I got her, although she never stopped teaching, I got the last digital copy of her book, which she was still editing in 2010, the year she passed away. And she edited that book in Word with the space bar and the return key. And because she didn't have the know-how or even the software. You got to remember, this was like 15 years ago. The software has completely changed what's available to us. So she didn't know how to move things around and reformat things and do all that techie stuff.
Oh, it probably took her forever.
Yeah, and she just would have a thought and paste it like randomly at the end of a chapter somewhere because she didn't know how to. I'm like, I'll fix this for you, Helene. I know how to do that.
Geminis are all about communication.
Yeah, so I also don't think it's an accident, clearly, that I'm a Gemini rising and she was a Gemini, so I can kind of pick up her gauntlet and keep running with it. So this is funny because it says that I'm supposed to overcome skepticism, well, teaching people about using your own intuitive abilities, indecision, worry about other people too much. Oh my gosh, I worry about other people too much.
And you have a daughter, right?
Or yeah, of course, mom. I'm like the mom to everybody. Like,
yeah,
somebody tells me something, I'm like, okay, let me make you a pot of soup, and I'll bake you some banana bread, and I'll come over with some cookies. And do you need me to do something for you? I do that. It's interesting. I don't have headaches or insomnia from worrying.
That means that you're not unbalanced as a 6 then.
Oh, very good. But yeah, I do. Refusing to take breaks. Oh my gosh. I'm a triple Capricorn. I love working. My sister's a productive day. That's the day. And then, okay, so it's just ways to balance the 6th chakra. Wear purple clothing or gemstones. So I wore my purple glasses today for this. I said, oh, that's what I need. I need the purple. And actually, that's really interesting. You know what? That's the color of my business.
Right.
My business color is purple. My Contest Queen is purple. My Idea Majesty is purple. My website, my new website is being worked on.
Behind you too.
Yeah, well, that my webmaster is really good. He does all the covers. And my next book cover is purple.
I love it.
Actually, my first book was supposed to be purple, and I don't know what happened at the printers. It came out gray.
They might have ran out of toner.
I don't know. It's kind of this muddied. It's not pretty. Oh well. You just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep going. Love to be in control to a point. I see, that's the thing, when as we age, we shift. I don't need it as much now. that I'm heading to my,
Sound like you're a lot more balanced as you get older.
Yeah, isn't that's actually probably one of the benefits of aging, right?
Not
You let go
everybody
and know
gets,
it's taken
not
care of.
everybody does, not everybody does that as they get older, but fortunately for you, you seem
No,
very balanced.
um, now I like this. Be like Walt Disney and use your incredible imagination to see and feel your next. I'll say books, but I can even say projects are successful now using vision boards and affirmations. Yeah, I can already see it. Where I feel a little panicked is I have more stuff to do than time, and I'm like, okay, who can I recruit to help me get these things out quickly? Oh,
I'm
this is
glad you're willing to
interesting.
delegate, because that's another thing that you're here to learn. Not to do it all yourself.
I'm getting better, but sometimes still. This is a good question by Andrea. She says, what info can you obtain based on your time of birth?
The life path, which that's what Carolyn's going over right now in the blueprint reading. But I can tell you what you are here to do, what careers would be a good match for you. Well, anything based on the question you asked me as well, like how to obtain what you want based on your life path, based on your name, based on what cards I pull about you. The your date of birth, it's almost like me dialing a phone number and getting all this information about you.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. L says, the book I refer to by Faith, Javon, and Dusty Bunker says, always work with the full name at birth. But that's true. I do agree with that. But I'd like that if you change your name for whatever reason, you get married. My daughter's changed her name from the birth name that I gave her. And so that's changed her numerology. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sit down and figure out how that changed. Oh, Deb says she just purchased the blueprint. She's so excited.
Oh,
well, you're going to be busy tomorrow. And now this is interesting. You pulled the devil card, which is my card. Mm-hmm. I'm Capricorn, triple Capricorn. So my sun, my moon, and my Mercury are all Capricorn.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people get scared when they hear the devil, but it has some positive aspects as well. But I'll let you explain what
it says here. It says devil card suggests, in order to make a book success, avoid codependent relationships with people, especially those involved in the book. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Because the devil is representing a feeling of being attached to somebody, or feeling addicted to somebody, or feeling like you want them to need you.
Oh, that's interesting. This is totally me. I only skimmed it because I wanted it to be a surprise when I did the show. The devil card can represent a feeling of needing it to happen, which I do all the time. And I get told, relax. And I keep reminding myself, what's meant for me will not pass me by. And if it passes me by, it wasn't meant for me.
Well, I think that's a benefit of splitting your focus a little. I do this too. I work on multiple goals at the same time. So whatever I'm not actively focused on tends to bloom while I'm busy doing something else.
Yeah, so watch pot little boils. Okay, and then you pulled the 9 of Pentacles to what can I do to help make it successful, which is the Justice card. And it's about, I love this. Luxury, prosperity, success, and all the trappings of success. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because one of the things that people don't realize is that as you grow and you need, more equipment or better equipment, or new tools or people to help you, that you need to pay them for their time and their services, and, or a software package, or I need to register a name, or I need to do something. That needs, we have to have the flow of money to reinvest. Mm-hmm. And so that success would be handy.
Yes. And I want to point out, you can be your highest level and still wear yoga pants. just as long as you feel good in them. I'm wearing my polka dot yoga pants right now.
I actually have on real pants. I found these stretchy pants, but they're real pants. And I thought, okay, I wanted to get out of the yoga stuff. I actually wanted to get dressed in the morning. But I still like that comfort. So I found stretchy pants.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm wearing like really silky, like new yoga pants that make me feel luxurious.
What I love about this, and I find this interesting, is the Justice card. Now, being a Capricorn, I love like the rules. Hello, I teach about the contest rules.
Yes.
I love how it's so accurate. It governs law, truth, fairness, cause and effect, right? You can't win if you don't enter. Also represents somebody you must convince. This card indicates that you make sure you do everything by the book and have contracts in place, which I do. Again, I tell entrants, always read the rules, and marketers to make sure your rules are locked tight, right? And I think it's interesting that it could represent a Libra who's closely tied. Well, my boyfriend George is a Libra.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, this is so interesting.
That's cool. So he's in your reading.
I know. And it's funny because he's a contractor. So he sees his work is very physical. If he rips apart a bathroom, it's very physical. You see one bathroom, he rips it all apart. He does all the work. It's physical. He sees the changes. And then, he has a whole new product. I sit here in the office and just tap away and everything's in the ether. It doesn't have the same kind of tangible feel to it until I get some printed books in hand. And then they feel like, okay, she has something, but otherwise it's just all energy, literally energy, because all the books are print on demand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just goes to show how powerful energy is.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, so you talked about my name gives me the numerology of 5, and it's the rebel. I thrive on freedom and change and doing the unexpected. Well, that's a little bit like me. I think I'm a little bit conservative. I'm always late to the game on some things. Like I was late to get on TikTok. I was late. I think I got on Facebook pretty decently, but I know I was probably a year or two late for Twitter. I got on Instagram late because I didn't have a phone that would have Instagram until I finally got one. And then TikTok, boy, I wish I was on that bandwagon in 2019 and not 2020. 2021, I got on. So yeah.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. Oh, you're a fantastic conversationalist. But it's important to make sure you listen as well. Oh my gosh, that's so me. I actually became, now this is interesting, tie with Helene. One of the things is I became a Toastmaster to master the art of public speaking, but they teach you the art of listening and the art of leadership as well, which most people don't realize. And it turns out Helene was also a Toastmaster.
That's awesome.
Right? And then she has her personal insights, which we'll skip over because I want to get to Helene's stuff, which is really cool. Now, it's kind of odd because Helene's passed.
I felt a little weird doing the personal advice or personal insights. And I said that too. I was like, I feel a little silly doing this for a deceased person, but here's what I picked up.
Well, she's probably hanging around going, this is fun.
I know, we aren't summoning her. I mean, everybody's energy.
Right? And now, interesting, she's a life path 6 too. Surprise,
like, you're both very different.
But yeah, she manifested different because she was in a different time. And here's a good question. First of all, we'll go back a little. My friend Bill, he says, I can wear yoga pants. Yikes. Yes. Bill is like 6'2".
Extra long,
taller. And this is interesting. Has Helene ever visited you? I've talked to her in my meditations. I use her as I took the Silva course, and you're supposed to pick mentors, and I made Helene one of my mentors. Obviously taking the Silva course.
I'm obviously taking it when you become a teacher.
Yeah, I've actually have a meeting on Friday about potentially becoming an instructor.
Oh, fabulous. I didn't know it was that soon, but that's awesome.
Has Helene ever visited you?
Me personally, not yet. I'll say not yet. I used to do mediumship readings, but I closed the door on that, except for pet ones, because I'm going through my own grief right now.
Yeah, those dark nights are fun. Said with heavy sarcasm.
Yes. I'm fluent in sarcasm too, so I got it.
Yeah, I'm finally.
I would welcome a visit from Helene. I'm not afraid of conversing with her at all.
Okay, now this is interesting because I've actually seen people do this on TikTok and it looks like kind of fun. Any thoughts on bibliomancy, randomly opening a book?
I do that all the time. So you ask a book a question and then flip to a random page, and then through synchronicity, it will give you a message that you're meant to see.
Okay, then I'm just going to grab.
That's how tarot cards work too. It's just because whatever is in your consciousness, that's what you're going to see mirrored in the world around you. Like,
okay, I went to pull her book, and I can't find my updated version of her book, which is interesting because I just cleaned my office and I thought I put it away.
It's hiding from your consciousness. Tell yourself you found it, and you will.
So this is an older version. So let's see if Helene has a message for us. The difference between desire and knowing.
Ooh.
That's what she wants to let us know, to remember. And that's how that chapter.
So that's like not needing it to happen. That's like, I know it's already mine. I don't feel any lack.
Yeah. So she says here, because I turned the page just so I could read her exact words. Let me define the difference between desire and knowing. Desire is excited anticipation. Knowing is calm assurance. She said, you're present at a drawing and your first three numbers are called and you feel like you're about to explode. The last number is called and you miss by one number. This is a desire feeling and a very common. You have repressed energy and are wanting it to happen. Unfortunately, there's not been enough energy projected to make it so at that time. When you know something, it's different feeling. You have a calm, cool assurance and all anxiety is gone and already done. All that now remains to experience is the physical presentation. Be calm and cool when you collect. It is a good feeling. That's cool. We just did that with Helene.
I love that. Thank you, Helene, for that pertinent message.
That's very fun. So you wrote here, she had a huge heart. She was about community and she was a hard worker. Yeah, absolutely she was. Pitfalls of being a 6 include worrying too much about others, which we talked about, taking on other people's problems, and skepticism about spirituality, which was huge at the time when she was, because you got to remember, we're looking back from 2023 and so many things out there are about different levels of spirituality, whereas she was doing this in the 60s. Now,
there was long before the internet, like people would just show up at her house for classes. Like, could you imagine the level of trust that she had to have for that? And she opened her house to everybody.
Yeah, especially that was at the beginning, it was her house that she won. And then eventually she sold it and bought where she ended up retiring. And she had her own house. And then she had she bought a double wide trailer, like a home, but she turned it into like where the students would stay when they weren't, when they came for like weekend classes. Cause she was far in the country. There was no like hotel. There's a hotel like 10 minutes from the house now, but even when I went to visit her, there was nothing. And so she had an outbuilding for people to stay. And she had a beautiful courtyard garden area in the middle. And she had a pyramid that was white. Actually, I have the picture right above my desk. I'm going to grab it to show everybody. She had this in the garden. This picture was taken in 98 with her and her husband, Pat, but she had a metal pyramid.
That's beautiful.
For meditating, and she would take the students out and they would meditate under that pyramid. How cool is that?
That is so beautiful.
Now, unfortunately, it's a little rusty now. It's dwindled with age. But how cool that must have been. The energy in there must have been phenomenal. And let's see what else. Oh, that's interesting. She also had the devil card.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is really crazy. Or not. Now, you pulled a different card for her because I got the Justice card. She got the Ace of Cups. And aces always come out of the blue, and they don't want to feel controlled in any way. Oh, absolutely, she did not. She talks about when she was little and her mother was asking her to go to the store, and she was so not interested in that. Oh, and yeah, she grumbled about her assignments, but she always went along with it. That's very funny because, yeah, she did grumble the whole time. I don't know. I don't like this. All right, I'll just do it. The card shows a golden cup that's overflowing with water, and water represents emotions, intuition, and the feminine side. Oh, absolutely. That was her. Yeah, she felt her emotions very deeply. I would say that's absolutely true from how I know her. And it says the Ace of Cups is highly intuitive and emotionally intelligent. Yes, that's also Helene. Like she kind of just knew things. Like when she saw her husband, she told her girlfriend, yeah, that's the man I'm going to marry. And her friends were like, what? How do you know that? She's like, I know. She also had a very funky sense of humor. Okay, so we went over that. Yeah, so we went over her name. Traits that would have helped Helene thrive when she was alive included being grounded. Yes, she did a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
She loved animals and being with nature, and people who are highly intuitive and emotional, yourself included, might need more physical activity because being so turned it into others can make us dizzy, clumsy, and unwell. That's interesting because I do feel better when I go to the gym and things like that. Like if I'm off for a few days, I really want that yoga class, which Helene did not like yoga. She thought this whole bendy, twisty thing was for the birds.
She liked naked dancing.
I know. She has that whole chapter. I'm like, oh.
I was like, man, today that probably wouldn't be, might be frowned upon. So.
I think it's always been frowned upon. I don't know, unless you went to Burning Man or something. But
yeah. I mean, she was really open-minded for the time period.
Right. Even I wouldn't do that. I'm like, I'm
having
all the jiggles
too. I mean, most of them were female. So.
I know. I'll just go to hot yoga. Thanks very much.
I would be like, I think I'm out of here.
I know. But she helped somebody.
Yeah, she definitely helped a lot of people. We'll have to try naked dancing on our own.
Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. Okay, so let me go back to the questions we have because I think we're missing some here. Oh yeah, this is a good question. How often should you get one? Because if I go and get a reading, like an astrological reading, in my brain, I think annual is good. But I know people who go and get readings from different type of people, like mediums and intuitives and things like that. They go like every month.
I have clients that they'll order readings from me every week, but several different readings, such as tarot card readings or Akashic record readings. But with the blueprint reading, it combines modalities. Like I said before, your life path is always going to be the same. And also I read tarot based on the energy of today. So the cards that I pull for you are going to change each time, especially if you have a new question. Plus all the unpredictable things that happen in your life. But like I said earlier, if you change your name, your blueprint's going to be different with that. And that's because numerology is based on your name. So, I mean, really, you can order a blueprint once a year if you want, or if you change your name, you can order a new one. If you have a new question and your information is the same, you could order a tarot reading.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Just
Yeah.
to get a blueprint, and then if you have other questions or different areas, then just buy one of your other services. They're
Right.
all on her Etsy, and I've pinned everything in the description, so it's easy for you to go follow her and take a look at her store and poke around. And she keeps updating it. That's the other thing. Visit it, once a month or so to see what new things, because it changes with seasons and different things like that. Correct? Am I right?
Correct.
That's what I thought.
I add different readings especially around Halloween time. There's a lot of different readings. That's when, oh man, that's so many more people are interested in that sort of thing. But
That's
yeah,
interesting. Now, they always say around a full moon, people are affected by the moon. Do you find waves of people during different cycles when, besides Halloween, which is, they say, All Hallows Eve?
I think it's based on my energy, really, and what I do. Because if I'm extra tired and maybe not marketing as much or not focusing on it as much, you would think that it wouldn't. You would think that it would really affect my store, but often that's when I get a wave of customers coming to me, and I feel like it's because I'm not trying to force it.
Gee, like my reading that says trying to make it happen.
But I mean, a lot of major holidays like Valentine's Day always get a slew of people coming. Certain holidays like Halloween, of course. But I haven't noticed about the full moon. I have noticed personally that I don't sleep that well leading up to the full moon.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm affected by it.
And what now, you started with tarot. So how did you get into the other modalities?
Well, when people came over to the house that I didn't know, like my husband's friends, I would just kind of use them as my guinea pig and start telling them about themselves. Like I would just practice psychic readings on them. For example, during the pandemic, my husband's friend from high school came over, and I met him once, but he had a new girlfriend that I had never met. And I was talking to her, and I got the image of like a nurse's uniform, and I was like, "Are you a nurse?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." And I was like, "Are you the youngest child?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you have brothers?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I just kept going on and on and on. And then I was like, "Okay, I can do this." And then, so when
did she run out of the house?
Yeah, then I started doing it online, and I was like, let's see if it works online. And for me, it's really about trusting the images that I get and not judging anything that comes through. So I say this in all of my readings that some of the stuff that I say is going to really blow your mind and be accurate. Some of it might make sense later on, and some of it will not fit because I don't censor myself in order to be super accurate. Like one of the first readings that I did for one of my students, I got the image of my dad, which for me that means twin, and my dad's brother has passed. And so I said twins to her, and this was someone online that I did not know. I only had a picture of her, and I was just reading her photo. And she said, "Actually, I'm a triplet, and he is deceased." So it fit, and that's why I was getting the image of my dad. So I just learned to not judge what comes up. And that's how I do my readings online and in person.
I've heard that with your intuition.
Yeah.
I've had things happen that pop into my head, and I think that's stupid. Why would I do that? And then, later down the road, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I should have done that. And it's been little things too. Like,
Mhm.
like don't wear that shirt today because something will spill on it. And sure enough, I'm like, I knew that this morning. Why did I pick this shirt? Like, like, like little things like that.
Like today, I was going to the park, and I usually always park in the same spot. And my intuition was like, no, don't park there. Park way up this giant hill that's going to be a big trek to walk back up. And I didn't want to, but I did anyway. And when I walked past the parking lot that I ordinarily park at, I saw that they were repaving it, and there was like 20 loud, noisy trucks there, and I would not have been able to park there. So if I didn't listen to myself,
Wow.
I mean, I would have been having to park up the hill anyway. But I've
Wow,
learned to trust myself over the years with like little things like that.
that's cool. Rosalind wants to know, can it help a teenager? I would say yes.
Yeah, and help them become more self-aware.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, have them. I would say if it's a surprise gift, go through and use your intuition and see which one resonates.
Yeah,
With you.
as long as they have their parents' permission.
Well, I'm going to assume Rosalind is asking for her child to purchase one for them.
Yeah, I think it would make a really unique gift for a teenager.
Yeah, that's something totally different. And then they would get to ask, like if you did the tarot, they could ask any question they wanted.
Exactly. And a lot of my readings clients will keep and refer back to. So when Helene did her blueprints, it was like a printed, she would send in the mail. You get a PDF and you can print at home from me. And
Modern.
multiple pages, print it at home from your computer or just read it on your phone. But yeah, you can keep it and refer back to it.
Yeah, mine shows 10 pages. And then that was Helene's was 10. Mine was 11 because you had a little more to say about me.
Yeah, I pulled it. I had more insight. Especially because I wanted to show how your books could be, or your new projects could be successful. Whereas, like with Helene, I felt like I was reading the past.
Oh, Rosalind says for her granddaughter. Yeah, that's nice. Actually, what's interesting is I just flipped while we were talking. It says you got the image of a dolphin while you were typing it up, and dolphins use their keen intuition rather than overthinking things. And that's what the dolphin wants me to do. But like a dolphin, keep your sense of humor. Helene had a massive sense of humor. So I'm, following in her footsteps. And go near water for clarity on your creative ideas. Where the sand meets the sea is my favorite place on earth. I could sit for hours at the edge of the ocean.
I love that. I'm a shores person too.
Bill says only 11 pages for Carolyn, not 100. Bill loves teasing me. We met for the first time at the sweepstakes convention, but he's been coming to our meetings and he's fun. So if you ever want to meet Bill, just come to a club meeting. And yeah, I think we've covered everything that we wanted to talk about. And yeah, and I have the links to everything in the comments, including the link to your book, because I think it's crazy. It's called Rich Witch.
It is, and it's about manifesting.
I gotta read it.
Which is why I read your book and Helene's books.
And yeah, how fun is that? I love that. So I think, let me just check to see if we have any more. And I don't see any more questions or comments that we want to share. Oh, actually, we do have an important one that I missed at the beginning. When you're talking about cycles, are you talking about biorhythms?
See, I don't do cycles because I find it's a little confusing for people, and it's not my expertise.
Helene no, I think you meant the life cycles that you put in, like the number. Mm-hmm. Like you said, life, what did you call it? Life path?
I do life path. I don't do biorhythms or cycles.
Okay, what's biorhythm, but what life cycles? Why? Maybe Aurora can clarify, because so life path. That's actually what Helene used to do in hers, was the life path.
And that's a number.
Yeah. So, and Iris says, "Oh my gosh, I would love a blueprint. How do I go about getting one?" Well, the link's in the description. And Miss Carolyn, because you have won her 8th set of Disneyland tickets.
Oh, congratulations.
Fun. I love Disneyland. I haven't been in forever. Okay. Any new comments? Oh, Bill and his smart. He's got Helene's sense of humor. He doesn't do cycles either. No tricycles or unicycles. Bill. Aurora says it wasn't life path. I heard the phrase life cycle. So
yeah, I don't include life cycles.
Yeah, it's not part of this blueprint. I'm sure if you really wanted to learn about a life cycle, I'm sure you could find a metaphysical coach or practitioner that does the life cycles. Maybe that's more with astrology, because I know that astrology is like all cycles. So that might be more your, but Helene didn't, she had a bit of astrology in hers, but hers was very generic. Like I did a video on the blueprint showing mine, and she would just have generic stuff about the Chinese zodiac and generic stuff about the Western zodiac. She did not do Vedic. So I think that's what you're asking for. And I want to thank you so much. One of these days, I'm going to have to come for a visit. Unfortunately, we went right past you on our trip to Florida, but I didn't have time to stop and hang out.
Next time for sure.
I told George, I said, I have to go back and do it again, but spend more time with all the people I literally had to bypass on this trip and be able to go and visit. And I'd get to walk the
doggy. Yeah, you would get to meet Rebel.
Oh, that's such a good name. Now,
and you know what? Rebel in numerology, it's a 5, which is the rebel. How perfect is that? So now, he and you are like kindred spirits.
Did you numerology his name before you gave it to him?
No, he came with that name. They named him at the animal shelter.
That's so interesting. And is he a rebel?
He is a rebel.
I love how this stuff works. You can't make this stuff up, people.
He's just like his mother, me.
What's your life path number? Do you know it off by heart?
I'm an 11.
Oh.
I'm supposed to be guiding everybody else. It's the 11 is the spiritual teacher of the life path.
Oh, well, that's what you're doing. And you fell into it because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I fell into what I'm supposed to be doing.
It's not an accident. That's what happens.
I know, it's crazy. I probably would have, had it not happened, I don't know if I would have a dog right now, because my house would be, full with other dogs. And
so, because you were doing the other. Yeah, that's amazing. That is so good how it all works out.
Yeah,
you have to trust the unknown, though. That's the part that, like I said, I thought that was funny, because you had it there. She needs, you got to make it happen. And sometimes I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to make this work? And I keep thinking, I don't need to do anything. I just need to relax and let it.
Just hard for you.
It is. I mean, we can't not do anything. This is part of the point in manifesting that I actually would like to bring up to people, since we're, your book is about manifesting. I need to go read your book. And you do have to take steps. The title of my first book is You Can't Win If You Don't Enter. And Helene didn't just sit and picture all these prizes. She actually entered to win them. She took the steps. She took action. She put her name out there. She mailed them in. She created the cards or whatever she had to do. One they drove around from grocery store to grocery store entering, all the different giveaways. So she took action. It just didn't appear out of nowhere.
Exactly.
But she did manifest it.
And she had that knowing, like when you explained, when you did the bibliomancy with her book, she just trusted that it would come to her. Like, I think the first book that she read about all this positive thinking stuff told her, like, you can have anything you want. And she was just like, oh, okay. And she believed it. And that's what became true for her. So
I know, it's amazing, because I even find myself doubting sometimes. So she read, what's really funny is I thought for years the book she read was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I don't know how I missed that, because it was The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. It was a totally different book.
And she knew Joseph Murphy, who wrote The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
I know. And you know who told him to go see her? Was Norman Vincent Peale, because she would go on these like lecture circuits and talk. Now everybody'd be on YouTube. I could only imagine her with a YouTube channel.
Well, she does. There are clips of her on YouTube, and I
know, but can you imagine her hosting with
having
Helene
her own
Hadsell?
show? Yeah, I mean, she could go on and on. That would be so fun.
I know. And TikTok, oh my gosh, she'd be all over TikTok, because she actually talks about in some of her books that she was a show off. And I thought, oh, she would love that TikTok for the show off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know what kind of monkey business she would have got herself into. Anyway, I want to thank you so much again for being a guest. We'll definitely do some shorts on the different names of people, and I think that will be fascinating.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And thank you everybody for watching and submitting your questions.
And if you want to get a hold of Sarah, check the description, because I put all the links there. And check out that Rich Witch. That's a tongue twister.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.